Good evening. Today's class reading discussion will be on Chapter 12, Addressing Competition and Driving Growth. My name is Jabria Simmons.
I'm Bria Burrows.
I'm Fionn Green.
And now we're about to go into the chapter. An important function of marketing is to drive growth in sales and revenue for a company. Growth is essential for the success of any firm. This chapter examines growth, the role competition plays, and how marketers can best manage their brands given their market position and stage of the product lifecycle. From global competitors eager to enter new markets, from online competitors seeking cost-efficient ways to expand distribution, from private label and store brands providing low-price alternatives, and from brand extensions by mega brands moving into new categories. Product and brand fortunes change over time, and marketers must respond accordingly. And here's a list of growth strategies. Companies can grow by building a reputation for social responsibility, by growing with alliances and mergers, innovating new products and services, building their market share, global expansion, developing committed customers and stakeholders, also by partnering with government. Even though there are many different growth strategies, some of the best opportunities come from growing the core. Growing the core means focusing on the most successful existing products and markets. Marketers avoid the trap of thinking that the grass is greener and overestimating the upside of new ventures that stretch the company into uncharted territory. Growing the core can be a less risky alternative than expansion into new product categories. It strengthens a brand's credentials as a source of authority and credibility and can yield economies of scale. Through improved revenues and lower costs, growing the core can also lead to greater profits. Number 1, make the core of the brand as distinctive as possible. For example, Galaxy Chocolate has successfully competed with Cadbury by positioning itself as your partner in chocolate indulgence and featuring smoother product shapes, more refined taste, and sleeker packaging. Number 2, drive distribution through both existing and new channels. Costa Coffee, the #1 coffee shop in the United Kingdom, has found new distribution routes using drive-through outlets, vending machines at service stations, and in-school coffee shops. Number 3, offer the core product in new formats or versions. WD-40 offers a smart straw version of its popular multi-purpose lubricant with a built-in straw that pops up for use.
Market leaders have the largest market share and usually leads in price changes, new product introductions, distribution coverage, and promotional intensity. To just name a few, these leaders are Microsoft, Gatorade, and my personal favorite, McDonald's. To stay competitive, one must do 3 things. First is to find ways to expand total market demand. Second is to protect its current share through good defensive and offensive actions. And lastly, to increase market share. In Figure 12.1, the hypothetical market structure, you will see that 40% belongs to market leaders, 30% belongs to market challengers, 20% belongs to market followers, and 10% belongs to market nichers. Starbucks is a great example for expanding their total market demand. One way to expand is to, of course, target new customers. In the text, you can separate new users into 3 groups. These groups are market penetration strategy. Those are people who typically use the product. Second is new market segment strategy. Those are people who never use the product. And lastly is the geographical expansion strategy. Those are people who live elsewhere. So when targeting new customers, the firm should not lose sight of existing ones. The second way to stay competitive is to protect your market share. To protect your market share, one must have continuous innovation. Proactive marketing is also important. Proactive marketing consists of a responsive marketer who finds a stated need and fills it, an anticipative marketer who looks ahead to the needs of customers in the near future, a creative marketer who discovers solutions customers did not ask for, but to which they enthusiastically respond. Defensive marketing aims to reduce the probability of attack, divert attacks to lessen threatened areas, and to lessen their intensity. If you refer to Figure 12.2, the 6 types of defense strategies, you will see that it consists of position defense, flank defense, preemptive defense, counteroffensive defense, mobile defense, and contraction defense. Decisions about which strategy to adopt will depend in part of the company's resources and goals and its expectations about how competitors will react. The third way to stay competitive is to increase your market share. One way to do that is to keep your possibility of provoking antitrust low. Another way is to make sure that you are aware of the danger of pursuing the wrong marketing activities. For example, companies that attempt to increase market share by cutting prices more deeply than their competitors typically don't achieve significant gains because those rivals meet the price cuts or even offer other values so buyers don't switch.
Economic costs and the effect of increased market share on actual and perceived quality should be considered also. The cost of gaining further market share might exceed the value if holdout customers dislike the company, are loyal to competitors, or have unique needs, or prefer dealing with smaller firms. And having too many customers can put a strain on the firm's resources, hurting product value and service delivery.
Other competitive strategies focus on firms that are not market leaders. Instead, these particular firms occupy second and third and even lower ranks in the industry. A great example of this would be PepsiCo and Ford. These firms can adopt one or two postures. They can attack the leader and other competitors in an aggressive bid for further market shares as market challengers, or they can choose to not rock the boat as market followers. There are several market strategies available for market challengers to compete with market leaders. First, they must define a strategy objective, which is usually to increase market shares, and opponents, which is whom to attack. It can attack the market leader. This is a high risk but potentially high payout strategy and make good sense if the leader is not serving the market well. It also can attack firms its own size that are not doing the job and are underfinanced. These firms have aging products, are charging excessive prices, and are not satisfying customers in other ways. In addition, a market challenger can also attack small, local, and regional firms. A great example of this can be the banking industry. Several major banks grew to their present size by gobbling up smaller regional banks. Lastly, a market challenger can attack the status quo. A challenger might not attack a specific firm as much as the industry as a whole, or a pervasive way of thinking that doesn't adequately addresses customer needs. A great example of this is Netflix, who have succeeded by contrasting their service with those of competitors. The first category of general attack strategies would be the frontal attack. In a pure frontal attack, the attacker matches its opponent's product, advertising, price, and distribution. The principle of force says the side with the greater resources will win. A modified frontal attack includes cutting prices, which can work if the market leader doesn't retaliate and if the competitor convinces the market its product is equal to the leader's. Next is the flank attack. A flanking strategy is another name for identifying shifts that cause gaps to develop in the market, then rushing to fill the gaps. Flanking is particularly attractive to a market challenger with fewer resources and can be more likely to succeed than frontal attacks. Next would be the encirclement attack, which is an attempt to capture a wide slice of territory by launching a grand offense on several fronts, which includes attacking the weaknesses and strength of its competitors simultaneously. A great example of this would be the fashion industry. Bypass attack. Bypass attack is bypassing the market leaders altogether and attacking where the opponent is not looking by finding new market segments. By offering 3 lines of approach. Begin by diversifying into unrelated products, diversifying into new geographical markets, and leapfrogging into new technologies. A great example of this would be in the Cola Wars. Pepsi used a bypass strategy against Coke by 1, rolling out Aquafina bottled waters nationally in 1997 before Coke launched its Dasani brand. 2, purchasing orange juice giant Tropicana in 1998 when it owned almost twice the market shares of Coca-Cola's Minute Maid. And lastly, purchasing the Quaker Oats Company. Guerrilla attack is a form of marketing that incorporates a series of creative and strategic techniques used to build and maintain public awareness surrounding the product. It includes selective price cuts, intense promotional blitz, and occasional legal action to harass the opponent and eventually secure permanent footholds. Choosing a specific attack strategy. Any aspect of the marketing program can serve as the basis for attack, such as lower priced or discounted products, new or improved products and services, a wider variety of offerings, and innovation distribution strategies. Market follower strategies. These strategies can be broken down into 3 broad strategies: cloner, imitator, and adapter. The cloner emulates the leader's product, name, and packaging with slight variation. An example of this would be its Apple Cinnamon Tasty O's versus Cheerios. Imitator. The imitator copies some things from the leader but distinguishes on packaging, advertising, pricing, and or location. The market leader doesn't mind as long as the imitator doesn't attack aggressively. Adapter. The adapter takes the market leader's products and adapt or improve them to tailor to their firm's needs. The adapter may choose to sell to different markets, but often it grows into a further market challenger. Market niche strategies. An alternative to being a market follower in a large market is to be a market leader in a small market or a niche. Market niches are normally smaller firms that avoid competing with larger firms by targeting small markets of little or no interest to the larger firms. And sometimes, over time, those markets can end up being sizable in their own right and becoming highly profitable. These firms know their target customers so well they can meet their needs better than larger firms by offering high value. And they also can charge a premium price, achieve lower manufacturing costs, and shape a strong corporate culture and vision. And by doing so, market nichers achieve high margin, whereas the mass marketers achieve high value. Market nichers have 3 tasks. 1, creating niches. 2, expanding niches. And 3, protecting niches. The risk is that the niche might dry up and it can be attacked. Those companies is then stuck with highly specialized resources that may or may not have high value alternative uses. Because niches can weaken, firms must always continually create new ones and stick to niching, but not necessarily a niche. A great example of market nichers would be the company Zippo. Zippo has successfully addressed the problem of fast shrinking niche markets in chrome windproof cigarette lighters. And with smoking on a steady decline, the market for cigarette lighters began shrinking from 18 million units sold to 12 million units sold in a small amount of time of 3 years.
Product lifecycle marketing strategies. A company's positioning and differentiating strategy must change as its product, market, and competitors change over the product lifecycle. Products have a limited life. Product sales pass through distinct stages, each posing different challenges, opportunities, and problems to the seller. Profits rise and fall at different stages of the product life cycle, and products require different marketing, financial, manufacturing, purchasing, and human resource strategies in each life cycle stage. Most product life cycles are portrayed as bell-shaped curves, typically divided into 4 stages. The first stage is introduction, the second stage is growth, the third is maturity, and the fourth is decline. The introduction stage of the cycle could be the most expensive for a company launching a new product. The size of the market for the product could be small, which means sales are low, although they may be increasing. On the other hand, the cost of things like research and development, consumer testing, and the marketing need to launch the product can be very high, especially if it's a competitive sector. Research also highlights the role of genuine product innovation. When a pioneer starts in the market with a really new product, for example, the Segway, surviving can be quite challenging, but for incremental innovators like MP3 players with video capabilities, the survival rate is a little more higher. There was a study done within 28 industries in which imitators surpassed the innovators. It was found several weaknesses among the failing pioneers included new products that were too crude, some that were improperly positioned or appeared before there was a strong demand. Product development costs also exhausted the innovators' resources, or a lack of resources was needed to compete against entering larger firms, and managerial incompetence or unhealthy complacency. Successful imitators thrive by offering lower prices, continuously improving the product, or using brute market power to overtake the pioneer. In order to gain pioneer advantage and long-term market leadership, a company must have the 5 factors: vision, a mass market, persistence, relentless innovation, financial commitment, and asset leverage. During the growth stage, organizations will need to begin asking new questions in order to expand, as well as examine new competitors, new potential markets, and any changes in brand image. So once the product hits maturity, the momentum will either climax or plateau. In order to help push the product to reach further success, the company should probably focus on research efforts, on competitive intelligence, in hopes of acquiring some of their customer base. During the maturity stage, the product is established, and the aim for the manufacturer is to now maintain the market share they have built up. This is probably the most competitive time for most products, and businesses need to invest wisely in any marketing they undertake. They also need to consider any product modifications or improvements to the production process, which might give them a competitive advantage. 3 ways to change the course for a brand are market, product, and marketing program modifications. A market modification may be a company trying to expand the market for its mature brand by working with 2 factors that make up sales volume, number of brand users, and usage rate per customer. In product modification, managers try to stimulate sales by improving quality, features, or style. Quality improvement increases functional performance by launching a new and improved product. Feature improvement adds size, weight, materials, supplements, and accessories that expand the product's performance. In marketing program modification, brand managers might also try to stimulate sales by modifying non-product elements, such as price, distribution, and communications. During the decline stage, the market for a product may start to shrink. The shrinkage could be caused by the market becoming saturated or because the consumers are switching to a different type of product. While the decline may be inevitable, it may still be possible for companies to make some profit by switching to less expensive production methods or going into cheaper markets. Not only are weak products unprofitable, they consume a disproportionate amount of management's time, require frequent price and inventory adjustments, and they also incur expensive setup for what are usually short production runs. Trying to maintain a weak product delays the search for replacement products. Unfortunately, most companies have not developed a policy for handling aging products. Strategies for harvesting and for divesting are a little bit different than eliminating weak products. Harvesting calls for gradually reducing a product or business's cost while trying to maintain sales. The first step companies use is usually to cut R&D costs and plant and equipment investment. The company might also reduce product quality, sales force size, and advertising costs. Companies usually do this without letting customers or competitors and employees know what is actually going on. Harvesting can be difficult to execute, yet many mature products warrant this strategy. When a company does decide to divest a product with strong distribution and residual goodwill, it can probably sell it to another firm. Some firms specialize in acquiring and revitalizing orphan or ghost brands that large firms want to divest. Style, fashion, and fad life cycles. Style, fashion, and fads are 3 terms that may sound familiar, but I'm not referring to them in a clothing sense. Style, fashion, and fads are 3 terms used to describe the life cycles trends of a product. Style is the most unpredictable trend of the 3. A style has a cycle that it runs through that show a mix of increased and decreased sales over time. The longest lasting trend, style can be related to almost any product. As opposed to style, fashion is a more steady progression of a trend. Fashion starts out, increases steadily, plateaus, and then decreases proportionally to a decline. The length of a fashion cycle is hard to predict. One view is that fashions end because they represent a compromise and consumers start looking for the missing attributes. Fads are the most unreliable trends as they have a quick rise, peak, and steep decline, all in a short period of time. Fads are usually driven by consumer support and immediate brand popularity. A fad can characterize an entire product's life cycle or even a part of a normal product life cycle. Figure 12.6 shows the sales volume charts. There's an A, growth slope maturity pattern, B, cycle-recycle pattern, and C, a scallop pattern. And these are the 3 common alternate patterns for product life cycles. Table 12.1 describes alternate ways to increase sales volume. Expand the number of users is described in the first column. Convert non-users, enter new market segments, attract competitors' customers. In the second column, increase the usage rates among users. Have consumers use the product on more occasions. Have consumers use more of the product on each occasion. And third, have consumers use the product in new ways.
Marketing in a slow growth economy. It's believed that given the economic cycles, there will always be tough times. but there are guidelines for marketing success in a slow growth economy. Beginning with exploring the upside of increasing investments. Marketers should consider the potential upside of increasing investments to exploit a marketplace advantage like an appealing new product, weaken rivals, or a neglected target market to develop. Getting closer to the customer. Whenever there is a downturn or slow growth period in the economy, it's an opportunity to learn even more about what consumers are thinking, feeling, and doing. This process will ensure getting to know consumer needs and their spending habits in every dimension of value proposition and economic growth effects. To review their budget allocation. In a slow growth economy, there's a chance for firms to review their spending and opening promise new options, which can help change and alter their new markets for marketing. A great example for this can be social media. Put forth the most compelling value propositions. Firms should clearly define their brand's value by focusing more on price reduction and discounts because they can harm long-term brand equity and price integrity, which can convey a bad message to consumers because discounting successful brands is not a good option because it can tell the market two things: that the prices of your products were too high and or your products won't be worth the price once the discount is gone. A great example of this would be GE, who changed its ad for the $3,500 profile washer and dryer combo set when the economy was in a downturn. Instead, the company focuses more on product efficiency. GE decided to advertise how their product optimizes more of the use of soap and water per load and how gentle the wash was on each load to actually extend the life of your clothes. Lastly, fine-tune brand and product offering. In a slow growth economy, marketers can review their product portfolio and their brand to confirm that brands and sub-brands are clearly distinguished and targeting the right market. A great example of this would be Armani. Armani distinguishes its product line into 3 tiers: distinct in style, luxury, customization, and price. The most expensive being tier 1 are Giorgio Armani, which is custom-made couture products selling for thousands of dollars, and tier 2, which is more catered to young, modern, and more affordable styles. And in the lower price, tier 3 are more catered to the more youthful and street-savvy version of Armani Exchange. With clear differentiation, it minimizes consumer confusion, which benefits the company because during a slow growth, the lower end picks up the slack and help maintains the profitability for the overall company.
Now we're going to go into a brief summary of Chapter 12.
To summarize Chapter 12, we have learned that focusing on opportunities with existing products and markets, it is often a prudent way to increase sales and profits. When referring to Figure 12.1, the hypothetical market structure, we have also learned that the market leader has the largest market share in the relevant product market. Also, the market challenger attacks the market leader and other competitors in an aggressive bid for more market share. The market follower is a runner-up firm willing to maintain its market share and not rock the boat. And lastly, the market nicher serves small market segments ignored by larger firms. It is good to know that companies should maintain a good balance of consumer and competitor monitoring and not overly focus on other competitors.
Not only do products experience a life cycle, markets do as well. The 4 stages of the life cycle includes introduction, also known as emergence, growth, maturity, and decline.
Now, this concludes Chapter 12 in addressing competition and driving growth. Thank you for listening.